along with my guys, and the second week we're back, my guys, Mr. Five Digits Max Coolest and James Jackson, the young gentleman. See, it's so synonymous, I get it messed up. You know what I mean?
I'll take it. I'm going to just change my name to James Gentleman.
I think
like
that
does kind of go.
Is that a compliment? Like, did I just have one? All right, cool. No, this is good. This is good. Fellas, it was not a good week.
No,
if I'm going to be real with you, like, and this is Monday that I'm already saying it was not a good week. It's
tough.
Kind of crazy to really think about. So we'll just jump right into it, and we've been doing these COVID updates.
Now, better.
Yeah, this is not really an update. This is more of kind of like a life-shattering, one of those, like the monthly...
A moment of reckoning.
Right, the things we've been getting monthly to just completely ruin our psyche. So we all know by now the Miami Marlins are officially ground zero. And I'm like, hey, look, you got one right there. Officially ground zero. And it's not like they just backed into it. They completely just said, you know what, screw it, we'll be ground zero. So,
yeah.
If you at home have not heard all of the details, the Marlins scandal, as we are now dubbing it, is they had 10 players and personnel test positive before the game yesterday with Philly in the rubber match of their 3-game series to begin the season. It comes out today that they had 8 more players and coaches test positive. So that is now, it's 14 players and 4 coaches. That's ridiculous. So now it gets worse. It gets worse, guys. They knew about the tests, and they just said, screw it. There was a group text between the players. The group text we have, there's a group text saying, no, we're just going to play. Don Mattingly comes out and is quoted saying, that was never our mindset. Not playing was never an option. Nice. And now the dominoes are starting to fall. A Rockies player has already opted out after hearing about this Marlins outbreak.
I mean, you can't blame him.
No. How could you blame him? As he's already opted out. All the Phillies staff are now being affected by the Marlins' just negligence. All the players or all the personnel who were in charge of the opposing team's locker room and in terms of hospitality for the visiting team are now in forced quarantine. Their lives are messed up because Don Mattingly and the supposed leader of the clubhouse, Miguel Rojas, said, oh, that was never our mentality. As you can tell, I'm pretty hot about this. This is ridiculous, and now the Phillies are forced into a pivotal role in being how they handle testing, which they won't know for another 12 hours, I think.
At least.
Yeah, at least. The first round of tests is supposed to come back tonight, but I think that was only like 15 players. Like we got shoved into the worst possible situation, the situation that we were trying to avoid. And now I'm seeing Kristaps Porzingis tested positive for the Mavs. Is this? I didn't hear about this.
No, that's news to me.
Got tested positive this morning.
I don't know what to say, really, guys.
I think we all are surprised that the shortest baseball season in history is only going to be 3 games instead of 60. Because, I mean, the Marlins are on the brink of blowing it for everybody, right? Like 18 out of what? How many people? Teams are only allowed to bring what? 40 total. Something like that, 40, high 30s, low 40s?
High 30s, yeah.
Because, I mean, they have to bring a certain amount of players and pitchers, and then you have managers and staff and stuff. That pushes you to at least 35, right? But still, 18 is half of that number almost up front. How are you going to be that irresponsible and say, we're going to just stick this one out? Maybe if it's like 1 or 2 guys talking about it on the side, like, hey, I don't feel great, like roommates or something, like, I don't feel great, do you feel great? No, like, what do we do? Do we just try to play it out, see how it goes? That's one thing. But it's a whole different thing if your team captain, your team manager, all of the important personnel are aware of this and they still move forward with it. It's blatant negligence. If I'm any other team in the MLB, I'm heated over this, especially after all the bullshit everybody went through. The league got dragged through the mud publicly. The labor relations went on for weeks, months, it felt like. And then it finally seems like it turned a corner. Everyone's happy. There's baseball. #baseball's back. And it's gone in 3 days because the Marlins, who won 60 games last year, decided that they need to go for it all and play half of their roster with COVID symptoms. So the more I'm verbalizing it, the more pissed that I'm getting. I'm sure it's conveyed. I'm sure it's conveyed, but it's ridiculous. Like, I wasn't that excited for all of this to happen, and then it happened. Like, baseball's here. I'm like, hell yes, let's do it. Baseball's back for 2 months. Let's make it happen. and now it's gone just like that. I don't know.
So I think the thing that also pisses me off is it's nationally televised that you are breaking the rules. You know what I mean? They hit a home run, and boy, the Marlins hit some home runs. It's being nationally televised that they come back in the dugout, they're high-fiving, yeehaw, and everything like that, and they're sitting on the railing, not 6 feet apart from each other. Like it's MLB clearly does not. I got to give all the props in the world to the NBA right now, because these scrimmages that are being televised,
and the NHL, man.
And the NHL, 0 positive tests, and all these the televised scrimmages and everything, they've been done very well. All the boards are in place in front of the booths and everything. All the stat keepers. And then you just see the MLB just completely drop the ball. We'll get back to whatever this means for baseball, other sports. We're going to dive back into that at the end of the first half. But the first question to you guys is, and I mentioned the sheer amount of homers that the Marlins hit. The Phillies stumbled out of the gates, guys, and it's pretty depressing. So what are our initial reactions to the Phillies losing a series to the Miami Marlins like this? It was bad.
I mean, my initial reaction is some things never change, right? Like, you can look for parity
really
in the same
doesn't,
spot,
man.
but at some point you get the same old, and you kind of get used to it. We were looking for a Phillies team that was going to be turned on its head from last season, and if we look at the 2019 Phillies and the start of the 2020 Phillies, we see a lot of things that are alarmingly similar. One, losing to the Marlins. I don't understand why our Achilles heel is Miami.
Can I give you a quick stat
Look,
that they dropped in the broadcast?
Sure.
I don't want to hear this.
Over the last 23 games they've played, the Marlins are 13-10 against the Phillies, and that was like 18% of their total wins last year because they only won 58 games or something.
There's something
it's insane. It's insane.
I understand that some teams just have a number on you, and it makes me feel a little bit better. It's a divisional team. It's not a team that we should beat, that we don't face often. It's a team that we face multiple times a year. Our Marlins can game plan around us, know how to play the Phillies, whatever it is. But I'm tired of watching the Phillies lose to teams that they should be in the way that they lose. The silver lining that was taken away from this, the last 2 games they put up 6 runs on the board, which is more run support than we're used to the Phillies giving their pitchers. But I'm watching Vince Velasquez get knocked around all over the yard.
We don't say Vince Velasquez here.
I'm watching a thin Phillies bullpen absolutely just can't come in and stop any kinds of bleeding. I'm watching Joe Girardi alarmingly look kind of similar to Gabe Kapler in his moves, I guess, out of sheer desperation. But, it's something about the Phillies that I'm watching in this first weekend that I'm not sure if there was a little bit of DNA that they were trying to stick to and then move forward, but with a new coach and a new look and a new team, I need a new Phillies team, and that's not what I saw in the first weekend. Regardless of the 1-2 start. The 1-2 start is not as much as what I'm mad about, is why the 1-2 start is there.
Yeah.
Now, if we went 1-2, but we were doing different things, I would give it a little bit of a leeway. We need some time for the wheels to get turning, for these new implementations to really take shape. But I saw the same Phillies team. Like, I saw the same Phillies team that went 500 last year.
They didn't support their ace. The next game they bounced back, and
alarming.
It looks great. Shout out Zach Wheeler, who
did his thing.
Absolutely killed it. Was the best Phillies player that saw the field.
Yeah.
Well, except maybe
Phil Gosselin.
The
The High Street Hammer from Westchester, Pennsylvania.
Yes.
Hey, Barrels.
Goose was loose this weekend. And
Goose.
there are some silver linings. Yeah, obviously. Some silver linings. And
But
you get the all or nothing Bryce Harper, right? You get the home run or nothing Bryce Harper. It's kind of what we saw last year for a little bit. So, there's definitely some strides to be made for this Phillies team. I'm not going to, press the panic button and say the sky is falling after 1 and 2, but, it's an indication of what things are to come, and that's
Can I press the alarmed button? Maybe not the panic button. The bullpen issues are bad. They are going to need to find someone in AAA who can come up.
It's malpractice to come into a season and bet on guys like Reggie McClain, like Trevor Kelly, like Ramon Rosa.
I think that's something that I didn't consider, and I'm sure you guys probably did, but it never resonated to me. Pitchers need that time to build their arm strength, right?
Yeah.
Like you're just so used to pitchers, like, you don't remember the starts in May where they go, 92 pitches, 6 innings. It's not bad. You remember the ones late in the season where they're throwing 8 innings and those ones, and you're just expecting pitchers to be able to do that. That's not the case, especially after an even longer layoff. So now the bullpen becomes even more important. And now I'm worried about the Phillies, man. That bullpen stinks. Like, they can't get it done against the Marlins, and yes, we have the curse against us and everything, but the Marlins are still the Marlins, who stunk last year and were one of the poorest hitting teams in the league along with the Phillies, right? If the bullpen can't do it against them, like, how am I supposed to feel confident when they're going up against the Rays and the Yankees and whenever we get to the
and our own division? I'm sorry, the Braves looked good this weekend. The Nationals looked good this weekend. Like we got some teams in our division that are picking up right where they left off, and we're not one of them.
I don't want to sound the alarms too early, but I can't see the bullpen not being a catastrophe without a divine intervention from an unknown source currently. Whether that's a triple-A'er that we're not really sure about, whether it's taking a chance on a guy who's maybe been out of the league for a year or two that has had past success. Something needs to change because there's no way. They can't even get to a closer role. Forget who's going to be saving games for them. They can't even get through the 6th, 7th, and 8th without blowing at least a run in every inning. How are they going to get to safe situations? So I'm worried. I'm gonna get out ahead of the ball here. I'm going to say I'm worried about the Phillies as much as I don't want to.
So we talked about the loss, and now we got to jump back into this overarching thing that is going to become a headline because it's going to be farther reaching. We talked about it before, the just how the Marlins completely botched the handling. Guys, should the Marlins be punished? And if so, how? And who?
That's a good question. It was the best question. I feel like it's got to be Don Mattingly, right?
It's got to be one person on the docket, right? Absolutely.
It's got to be. Like, ideally, you always want to start from the highest you can go, like ownership down, but I don't know. I feel like as an owner, right, like you hear that, like that's the death sentence, right? Like after you've worked so hard to get the season to go, I don't know. I feel like the highest person that would know about this is the manager. Mm-hmm. But I feel like the players, I feel like if the baseball detectives are better than the NFL detectives and they can get their hands on a cell phone, then that text message thread, I want to see who's instigating that in there because they deserve to be punished. Like this isn't exactly apples to apples comparison, but the whole NHL texting scandal, like the whole misogynist NHL texting scandal thing that leaked earlier this year, kind of right before the whole COVID thing happened. Team issued punishments were handed down from that, and that's a much less serious matter, in the grand scheme of things. I don't want to go too far down that rabbit hole, but in the grand scheme of the whole league, in their comparative leagues, this is a much bigger deal for the MLB than that is for the NHL. There's got to be something done. You have to set this precedent if you want the season to go.
That's exactly where I was going to go with it. A precedent, a standard, an example, whatever has to be set. I mean, we've seen it in the NBA. They've kind of made examples out of people for light situations. I'm sure once the NFL resumes, someone's going to have to be that example. But in times like this, when this is such a delicate situation, and it's something that is so little margin for error, carelessness has to be punished. And this was a careless move and a selfish move by the Marlins. You know what I mean? You have 60 games to do this. So if you have some players that test positive for COVID, if you want to see 60 games, Don Mattingly, ownership, whoever, it's your responsibility to take the right action now to be able to see that. What do you think is going to happen if you have 10 players test positive before the game and then they just go out and play a game and high-five each other and touch Phillies players and get all up in the mix? Like, what do you think is going to happen? This is a virus that is spreading rapidly day by day. And I'm sorry, your home stadium, where your team is from, is in the epicenter. So when you go back for half of the time for your home games, you're going back to the place of the biggest coronavirus outbreak in the world right now. So I'm not sure what exact punishment has to be dealt. I've never been good about delegating exact what punishment needs to be put out, by the MLB.
It's got to be something.
But a precedent and a standard has to be set because something like this snowballs. You know what I mean? Another team, who's to say another team down the line a couple days from now, has a couple players test, and if they're asymptomatic, they say, I'm fine, I feel fine, I'm ready to go. What's to say, another manager goes and looks at what the Marlins did, because they went unpunished, they just got a stern wagon. So guys, just go out, we'll roll with the punishment later. So there's got to be a precedent set. It's got to be a harsh one. It's got to be an example set and a punishment set that says very simply and plainly, this is not tolerated. Carelessness about coronavirus and this pandemic is not tolerated. And the MLB has to act very, very quickly and very fast because they're already seeing games being postponed.
I almost feel like if you're negligent, right, because the way that I'm about to explain it, like I almost feel like the Marlins should be liable to forfeit any games they need to. And yes, that'll ultimately be unfair for teams competing against the teams that get free wins. But, if over half the team is going to need to quarantine for 10 days, the MLB is trying to run on such a tight schedule, right? Like, what are they going to do? Push the season back 10 full days?
Oh, that's coming up.
So the Marlins can go 17-43 in these 60 games. You know what I mean?
It's also the Marlins. Now let's. There's a little bit of like common sense and context that got to go around it.
Yeah.
We're not telling the Reds or the Dodgers. We're not telling the Nationals. We're not telling the Astros or the Yankees that they have to quarantine a bunch of players. We're talking about the Marlins, a probable 17-20 win team in the 60 game stretch. Are we going to look for the Marlins to do anything? No. And the Marlins kind of put themselves in that position. So kind of like the Kelly Oubre and Rashawn Holmes incident. If it's Rashawn Holmes that has to be punished, it's Rashawn Holmes that has to be punished. And the MLB kind of has to say, thank God this wasn't the Yankees, and let's take advantage of the fact that it's the Marlins. Let's make the Marlins the example. Let's show everybody through the Marlins that they can't do this.
I agree.
So that's actually, you guys gave it to me again. You did it a lot last week, gave me great segues, easy segues. You did it to me again right here.
Team effort.
This is now going to be tough. And I'm saying tough because the people in Major League Baseball have very clearly shown us that it's all about the money, and they make the wrong decision whenever possible. So, before the season, we already tried to cram 60 games into 65 days. You have the Phillies and Yankees game getting canceled, and then they moved it to postponed.
Yeah.
When are you going to postpone it to? We haven't even talked about weather yet. The Marlins are probably going to be forced to forfeit games. So, guys, can the MLB actually complete their season going forward? Max?
Really quick, I just want to give a big congratulations and round of applause to the three of us for all of us picking the MLB as our most likely to blow it bracket winners. So congratulations to you guys,
thank you.
To myself as well. Thank you. I think round of applause all around. With that being said, we all saw this coming. Obviously, I feel like this was looking through a mirror, or that's a bad analogy. Looking through clear glass. You're flying around all the team planes. You're going to 30 different markets.
It was inevitable.
Exactly. This was inevitable, right? Like, I don't think we hoped that it wouldn't happen 3 games into the season before something this major happened, right?
It was about time.
I don't even know what to say. Like, it's just so disappointing as a fan, right? Like, as someone who is just a sports enthusiast in general, like, I don't want to see the sport of baseball die out, right? Like, baseball's American Pie levels of Americanness, right? But like, how are you expecting people to take the league seriously and want to invest long term if you can't handle simple situations right? I don't know.
Like this? Can they continue to finish the season like this?
No.
Hell no. Like, I'll take the sugar coating and the light talk out of it.
No.
Hell no. They can't continue like this. After one weekend, not only do you have outbreaks and positive tests, you are going to have positive tests. The MLB knew this. Fans knew this. I knew I was going to see a positive test here and there. Did I expect to see it, treated with such carelessness and kind of such disrespect for the pandemic and what, they were trying to do as a whole?
Yeah.
No, and we saw it after 2 games. After the first weekend, we saw a team really with not a whole lot to gain or a whole lot to lose, really put it all on the line and jeopardize the whole thing. So they cannot do it. And this only goes after the first weekend of many travels, of many interactions, of moving in and out of airports, in and out of cities, flying across the country. Like, thank God Canada was smart enough not to let the MLB into its country. Or they would have sold this in Toronto.
And they would have blew it for the NHL.
And they would have blew it for everybody. So, no, the MLB can't continue like this. There's got to be different measures put into place. But I think, unfortunately, they've already started a race they can't come back from. Like, they've already started this mantra and this blueprint for how to continue a season. And I think, really, realistically, the only way out, if they want a way out, is to shut down the season. That's what I see at this point. And I think, it's not something that'll feel good right away. It's not something that'll taste good right away. But it may be something that'll look back in 2 years, and a lot of us might say, you know what, we're proud of you, MLB, for kind of swallowing your pride, swallowing this pill, and making sure everybody's safe, and that you can't provide a safe measure, scrapping the season. Because you'd rather scrap the season than have this choppiness, and the ripple effect that'll come from a terrible season like this. The MLB is already in a terribly, terribly bad look. So to continue moving forward is only making it worse for their shield. So at some point, you may just have to swallow it. I would actually like to see a league err on the side of health and what is right over let's try to save whatever dollars, whatever revenue we can. Like, at this point, I actually kind of would like to see that.
Right. So Kevin Agandi actually tweeted out today, Major League Baseball, pause. Pause for a week and explore a bubble situation.
Okay. I can get down with that. I feel like they're probably not going to make the bubble thing happen. I don't even know how you could put that together in a week, but I think the only potential silver lining in this is that it did happen in the first weekend, and if you are going to push back the season, at least you're doing it this early. I mean, that's grasping at straws here, admittedly, but it's a lot easier to do after 3 games than it is after 35, right? Yeah. So, I mean, I guess that gives me some kind of hope that something can be salvaged. I think they'd be foolish not to try to make the bubble thing happen. I don't know how that could even possibly work logistically, but like, dude, send them to Nebraska where the College World Series is. There's tons of fields there. I I can't imagine. The fields are probably not MLB size, but I'm sure you can find a way to make those adjustments, right?
I mean, look at the
NBA
players playing in NBA-sized arenas right now. No, but if you want to play baseball, you want to play baseball, that's what you got to do.
Yeah, extreme times call for extreme measures. So this brought up conversation last week, and we did our little fun brackets about which sport would be the first to be shut down. Now, a big argument between all three of us, and I think rightfully so, was baseball and football are in a completely different boat because they are the ones who are traveling. Yep. So what we're going to do now is bring someone in to talk about that. How this actual just cluster F word is that MLB is right now, how this is going to affect football. So on the phones right now is someone you guys might be familiar with. It is our very own Kyrie Terrell. Kai, how you doing, my man?
I'm chilling. How y'all doing, man?
I think we were a little bit better when baseball was happening without all of these people getting infected. But I guess I know you share a little bit of a different standpoint than I do, and I want to get your thoughts on this. How exactly how's exactly this outbreak going to affect the NFL? Are they going to sit back and learn, or are they just going to drop
I'm going to tell you, bro. Listen here, man. This is where they made the mistake. What they should have done, and when I say they, I mean all four major sports.
Okay.
What they should have done was they should have had all of the players, coaches, personnel, even the folks that are doing broadcasts and whatnot. They should have had them sign a contract that said once this resumes, you're risking your health to play baseball, to play hockey, to play football, to play basketball. We're going to test you up front, and then you enter our bubble, or you enter our season, or you enter whatever it is, and when the season's over, it's over. There is no testing every week or every day or all of that type of stuff. And I know everybody going to think that I sound crazy when I say that, but it was the only way to prevent a situation like this or to prevent tampering. Because you're not going to sit here and tell me that the NBA Finals kickoffs and LeBron and Anthony Davis have a positive test and they're not going to play that night.
Come on now. We got into this earlier, you and I. Do you really think if Giannis tests positive, he's going to play, let alone like put his teammates in danger, let alone expose everybody on the other team?
Listen, it's not. There's two sides to it, Banner, right? There's the doctor that comes out 25 years later and says, I bet on that game and I said he was positive and he wasn't. That's a possibility. There's the I tested him and I was paid off to not release that information. The only way you get football, baseball, basketball, hockey back is to make sure that the seasons go. Look how much money they're investing.
Every owner is losing about $50 million, though. That's
but
reported.
They're coming back because they want to make this money.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. They should have said to these players, there's either no season or everyone involved has to sign off on we're going to test you and you're going to come in clean and you're going to keep your ass there. Even basketball, they're letting players leave and come back. Why have a bubble? That makes no sense. They should have said, listen, if we play this season, you can opt out. But once you sign this contract, if the player's healthy, meaning he's not showing any symptoms, he doesn't have a fever, he's not vomiting, he's okay to get on the court and play with COVID-19 like these Marlins players did, or not, because this is impossible. You have hundreds of players that are interacting with each other. The Marlins have what's 14? That's like a quarter of their staff, ain't it?
Yeah, it's a lot of people. The people that are allowed in the building, yes, it's about a quarter of them.
That's what I'm saying. So how do you come back from that? If this virus is what they say it is, and you got 14 people around a whole nother team and a whole nother club that test positive, there's no way that there aren't some players on those other clubs that are going to test positive if this virus is what they say it is. So they should have just either shut it down. We're going to get back to this next season. Everything's canceled. We like James said earlier, the health of the players is the most important. But if you're going to play, you cannot play and say, if this player tests positive or these players test positive, they got to go quarantine or they got to do. There's too much money and too much room for error involved.
So tell us how this affects football. You looking at the NFL right now. How does this affect the Eagles, whether it be spring training, which is going to be very limited, preseason, if there even is any, and then going into the season?
The same way it affected baseball, bro. You know, like I know, football is the #1 moneymaker, right? It's the biggest TV draw in the whole nine, and it's America's game. They are not going to cancel the football season. They're going to find a way, come hell or high water, to make sure that football is being played. But guess what? Somebody on an NFL team is going to test positive.
Oh, they've already had 9 or 10 rookies test positive.
Yeah, exactly. And that's my point. I know people think I sound crazy when I say that, but by and large, the virus is not that deadly, especially to those folks that are healthy, right? So if you're going to risk these players' lives, which is what you're doing, they should have been upfront about the risk. And they should have said, every sport should have said, we understand what COVID-19 is. We understand the risks associated. We also understand that we have a business to run, and we're going to take a collective vote between players, coaches, staff, et cetera, whether we're going to resume under these conditions. And those conditions should have been, if you're healthy, you play, period, especially in the bubble situation. And when I say if you're healthy, you play, I mean we're not testing players for COVID-19 every other game and sitting them. Because the Marlins players, they played the game with what's supposed to be this asymptomatic virus. So they should have just been upfront. This is going to be a domino effect that's going to continue to happen through all of these sports, hockey included. And you're going to continue, like Max was saying, what are we going to do? They're going to pause, and then they're going to come back in 2 weeks, and then they're going to pause again. You can't police professional athletes. You can't do it. They're going to do what they want to do. Their lives are already larger than life. You think you're going to halt that? They're going to do that for the greater good of their friends and family when regular people aren't doing what they need to do for the greater good of their friends and family?
So I was taking you
it's
guys.
Stupid.
I was taking you guys being silent as complicit, like you guys being complicit with this. Is this? What do you think? No, yes.
I'm absolutely not complicit. I'm trying to give him the floor and give him his whole point. But Kai, I'm on the opposite side of the fence on like 99% of what you just said.
That's wild.
Let's go. Talk to me.
Well, I mean, first of all, I get your point with trying to be upfront about the virus and everything. One, the leagues were kind of upfront in saying they understand the risk, they understand what this virus is. We know what we're asking our players, coaches, and staff to do. But as much as we think the NFL, MLB, all these 4 major sports run kind of independently, they have guidelines to follow. They have health guidelines to follow. And they wouldn't have been allowed to play through these health guidelines if they weren't following these protocols and having tests every other day. And we saw the NFL players outraged at the NFL that there was no plan in place, that there was no plan for continuing testing, for providing a safe space for their players. If the NFL would have came and said, we're going to test you when you get here, but we're not going to test you again, players wouldn't have let that fly. But we saw Russell Wilson say, I don't want to come to camp, I got a pregnant wife. Drew Brees said, get it, figure it out. Even Patrick Mahomes, the guy who's making the most money in NFL history, was hesitant to report to camp because the NFL didn't have a clear-cut plan as to how to make this safe. So I don't think that would have happened. So you're right. You can't police professional athletes. We've seen they're going to pretty much do what they want to do, but that
maybe
doesn't.
They'll go to Magic City for some wings.
But that doesn't mean that doesn't mean just throw all plans out the window and say you get tested once and whatever happens after that. Because it's not just about the players getting in themselves. These are the most prime athletes in the world. They probably will beat a virus like this. But what if they go home afterwards to a mother, a grandmother, a daughter, a baby, and pass it to someone who can't? That's the whole point of this. And then now the league is liable because one of their players came home, passed it to someone who may have ended up in a fatal situation because they weren't careful with what they're doing. So I get kind of what you're saying, but I don't agree.
So let me speak to that point, right? when something is impossible for you to quarantine, to keep away from the situation that you have at hand, you have to give people the opportunity to opt out. But you also have to give them once you opt in, here are the parameters. Because this is the boogeyman, right? It's something you can't see. You don't know where it is. You don't know how you got it. You don't know who you got it from, and the whole nine.
Right.
Totally different story if we knew how to keep this thing out. And we were saying, once you're in the bubble, we know how to keep it out of the bubble. You'll be fine.
But they don't.
That's
know how
not
to
the
keep it out of the
case.
bubble. Yeah,
it's
right.
not the case with none of these sports. So to my point, what I'm saying is I totally understand people got family and friends that they don't want to bring it back to. But if you want to play your sport, you, sir, have to quarantine yourself, right? I know emergency room doctors. A friend of mine's an emergency room doctor. He hasn't spent time with his family since this thing happened, right? He goes to work. He knows that he probably has some remnants of something on him. He showers in another part of the house, goes to sleep, does his thing, goes back to work. He's damn near giving his kids window love inside the house. It's the same thing. You make millions of dollars. Your ass either comes to this bubble and you stay. There is no excuse absence. If you want to leave, we're going to treat you like you have the virus now. You're not allowed back. Period, point blank. If there's too much leniency, and when there's too much leniency, guess what happens? The Marlins happen.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, that was the top of the show. We said that, it was too loose. I agree with the players leaving the bubble. They painted this picture that it's a life or death situation to leave the bubble, and half the league was leaving to get food. Undisclosed family situations. I can make up a family situation right now and say I gotta leave. Like they definitely were too loose with the rules.
You literally they debunked what the meaning of a bubble is by allowing players in and out. It's not a bubble anymore.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Like
I
it's
agree,
idiotic.
but I disagree on your solution on how to fix it at first. How to fix it isn't just don't test nobody. Like that's
a guaranteed way to have no positive.
Yeah,
real quick. Numbers don't lie. No tests, no positive.
You sound like the man in 1600 Pennsylvania Ave right now.
Stop that. What do you say, Kai?
No, I'm not saying that you don't test anyone. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is when this thing was gearing up, the players should have been informed to quarantine themselves for 14 days prior to you coming to this bubble.
They
should have taken a test prior to you coming to that bubble.
That was the NBA. Right? That was the NBA's protocol. You needed to be quarantined 2 weeks or 10 days before you reported to the bubble.
Yeah, it was 14 at first, and they moved it back to 10.
Right, and so here's what I'm saying. Here's what I'm saying is once they were done with their quarantine, they should have been tested. If you were positive, you're not coming. If you were negative, welcome to the bubble. You can't leave the bubble now.
That is what happened.
Because think about it. If everybody in the bubble
they get tested when they got there too?
Nobody can bring
the day after they got there.
And when they got there, they had to clear 7 straight tests before they could leave the room.
Right.
So these protocols were in place.
Yes, but you got it. The bottom end of what I'm saying is if everyone in this bubble, reporters, coaches, medical staff, if everyone clears these 7 tests, and then we really seal the bubble, how does Corona get in?
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Unfortunately,
that's seal a bubble.
Right. So what I'm saying is, if they did it that way, they could have been transparent in saying, we've tested everybody 7 times. We have 0 positive tests. The bubble is closed. There's exit only. No one is allowed back into the bubble. And what happens this NBA season stays between this NBA season. That's what they should have done. Because if it ever comes out that any one of these players played with COVID-19, which it is, by the way, you guys, I don't know if you know that or not, it's going to come out.
Oh, yeah.
This season is always going to be in question.
I mean,
always.
Look, I kind of agree with the latter, that it probably will come out that some players played with COVID when they shouldn't. I wouldn't be surprised if we hear a big name play with COVID when he shouldn't, if it comes out. in the playoffs, but I cannot get down with not continuing to test players because, like you said, this virus is the boogeyman, and you don't know where it comes from. So it's an airborne virus. It can resurface. It can surface on things. You can get it from any which way. So to test you in August and then not test you again until October is irresponsible. It's just as irresponsible as the Marlins rolling out 10 players who got it.
It's not if I'm in a bubble. It's not if I'm in a bubble. It becomes irresponsible because you told me I was in a bubble, but then you let somebody
the bubble is less. The bubble is, and I'm quoting, less likely to allow COVID in. It's not bulletproof.
Right.
No one said this bubble was bulletproof. That's why
they continue to test.
If this bubble was known to be bulletproof, they probably wouldn't test. But this bubble is not bulletproof. This thing
they should have made it bulletproof. And if you ain't want to come, you ain't want to come. Because I'm gonna tell you this. Somebody plays with the COVID. They win the championship. I'm Kawhi Leonard, and what I'm gonna say, I knew Anthony Davis had it. I ain't want to touch him that game. That's a forever asterisk.
Are you talking about some dudes? Are you talking about in the championship somebody having COVID and weaponizing it and saying I'm playing with COVID so nobody gets around me?
I'm saying it could happen, bro. There's
That's
too
wild.
many variables.
NBA Street 3.
All right,
Let's get out our tinfoil hats for weaponizing COVID. Honestly, that's kind of funny. That's kind of like a nightmare scenario.
I don't disagree with you, Kai, that it could happen. I don't like I said, it wouldn't be shocked if we hear in December.
I might need to actually get a tinfoil hat.
That someone played with COVID when they shouldn't have. But the quick fix isn't to pull all testing after the first wave. That's just not it.
All 4 major sports will have outbreaks. Mark my words.
All 4?
For 2 months straight.
All 4 will have outbreaks. I'm already 1 for 4.
Especially when you're in a bubble. Now, the bad side of a bubble, the dark side of a bubble,
once it gets in,
if someone gets in, it's probably harder to get out. So if 2 players in the NBA get COVID, it probably will spread. That's just the ugly truth of this thing.
Right.
That's a virus. So no, I'm not gonna be
and that's
in
why
shock
you make
and
the
awe
bubble
if all 4
bulletproof.
sports get a COVID. The bubble is not bulletproof, man. And I think everyone in the situation knew it was.
But they should have made it bulletproof. Was my point.
Hey,
anyway,
man.
It's been fun, guys. I'm gonna watch the rest of the show, man.
Kai, we appreciate you coming on, man.
Hopefully
none of what you said comes true because honestly, you are not an optimist, my man.
Yeah, you're not getting a loaded commissioner anytime soon, bro.
He's not. And you guys just got a little bit of a sneak peek on what happens in my new Philly on literally like an hourly basis.
He just says stuff to say stuff.
Yeah, Kyrie presented
it's
to react.
He's an entertainer. He's an entertainer through and through, man. I'll say that to my death. So he brought up an interesting point. And the bubble is de facto not a bubble anymore. Like it is and it isn't, but strict meaning of the word, it's not. So this only makes me laugh, guys, because really, we've heard of some cases in terms of like Rashawn Holmes going to pick up Uber Eats, and we're gonna move now into truth or not. And this is really one of the funniest things that I've truly ever heard. And guys, stop me if you've heard this before, but Lou Williams likes wings. They're his favorite food.
Might have heard him utter it once or twice.
And now his favorite place that serves wings is called Magic City. Now, whatever else happens in Magic City, the wings are apparently the main draw, and the strippers are the side attraction.
That's what I've heard.
That's a dining establishment first.
Right, exactly.
With booty around the corner.
Yes. You got to go into a completely separate room is what I've heard. Definitely a place you can take the children, everything like that. But guys, truth or no, Lou Williams actually stopped at Magic City for the wings.
What camera? I'm on this camera right here.
Yeah.
Lou. Lou, dog.
Talk to him.
My guy. I'm gonna take 30. Lou. Come on, man. Be straight with me. Be straight with me. You went to Magic City for wings. Knowing what time we're in now, where you got to go back to, you went to Magic City for wings. Like, I understand that's kind of the narrative that everyone wants to push forward so we can talk about this, but you gonna look me in the eye, a real one here, a real guy, a real G, stand up, and you're going to tell me that Magic City is where you went for wings. You left for a family issue. That's noted to be true. He didn't lie about that. On the way back, you said, dog, I could really use some grub. Magic City.
Now, to play devil's advocate, I have not had the wings at Magic City.
No, here's the thing. Many people have testified that Magic City got good wings. I'm not here to doubt that, Lou. I'm not lying to you. I'm not here to doubt that Magic City got good wings. You probably do. You probably could go to a 10:30 show in Magic City and get some Buffalo hot wings and tear them joints up. I'm not saying you're lying about that. I'm saying that you didn't go to Magic City for wings. You went to Magic City and said, let me cop some wings and bring them back. So this is like, it looks like, you know, this is where I went, and this is why I went to Magic City. But come on, man. I'm sure there was a wing stop. I'm sure there was something else on the way that you could have got some grub. But Magic City, man, it's not like Magic City, like we said, is a place known for their food, and the strippers are kind of just the sideshow to perk on top. It's opposite.
James Harden goes to Magic City to throw ones on the chefs.
Magic City is a place where you go for the entertainment, and a perk is just happened that their wings aren't too shabby. So don't sit here and lie to me, Lou. Don't sit here and lie to me. I'm sure Lou got back at his hotel or got back to his team room. All the Clippers looking at him like this. He was like, you know why.
He got some glitter on the side of his face.
Right, you know why I went to Magic City, man.
All I'm going to say is this, is that if I'm Lou Williams, I am so pissed at Jack Harlow. I'm pissed at him. This dude is in his first 15 minutes of fame. Like, I didn't really know who he was until relatively recently. He's relatively popular among the youth, and I'll age myself by saying that because not a lot of people my age I know listen to him. But dude, you can't post the picture on Instagram. And then
what do you mean,
this might be one of the all-time moments of quarantine to backtrack on that picture and say, nah, this is an old pic from that other time that me and Lou Will were wearing masks in Magic City.
Wearing the team-issued Orlando COVID mask.
Oh, my God.
You only get one place in one spot. Look, sometimes you got to learn just how quick the media can bite you in the ass the hard way. And Jack Harlow hasn't been an A-list celebrity for long, so this is probably the first time where it really hurt him. But you got to learn, Jack, once you put it on the internet, once you put it on Instagram,
it stays.
It's out there.
I seen screenshots marked 2 seconds ago. Once that's on the internet, it's there forever.
It's gone. And my question is, if Jack Harlow saw Lou, Jack Harlow was there for wings?
Right.
Magic City for wings.
Right.
So it must have been wing night. It must have been wing night at Magic City.
If y'all were in the same spot, I don't think it was at the checkout counter for the wings. That's not where I think it was. That's all I'm saying. Lou, be straight, man. Be straight with it. Kyrie said we're going to find out in December that someone played with COVID. We're going to find out in December after it's all said and done.
Right.
Like, yeah, I went to see some booty.
Hey, can't fault the man. I mean, you can, but I won't. You know what I mean? We'll move on. Staying in the bubble, or, well, we're going to get back into the bubble like Lou Will is now. He's in 10 days. So we're getting back into the bubble. And, guys, I told you it was not a good week. I personally am not too concerned about this. But truth or nah, we should be concerned about the calves of Joel Embiid.
Oh.
Yeah. He was held out for precautionary reasons.
I try not to worry about him.
I can't. How can I not worry about an injury after all this time off? How can I not?
Thank you.
Even if it's just general tightness, like that's where it starts. Like after a long layoff, your body just isn't used to doing that at such a extensive level, right? It doesn't matter. You know,
doing what at an extensive level? He played for 13 minutes.
I mean, I'm just saying that's why it's precautionary. It shouldn't have to be precautionary after he plays 13 minutes in one game, and that's why I'm worried. Because nobody's body can go 40 minutes in their first, second, or third game back from a 4-month layoff. But the fact that you can go 13 cumulative minutes in your first 2 games, or what should be your first 2 games, that is a little bit worrying. I'll say this, if the Sixers keep looking as good as they do through 3 quarters, maybe it won't matter as much, and maybe Joel Embiid can get away with playing 20 minutes a game if they're up 25 after 3 quarters. But I'm not going to bank on that.
Blew a 25-point lead to the Thunder.
Doesn't matter. I knew you were going to get on it. Doesn't matter.
Andre Roberson, back-to-back threes.
I will say this.
Shout out to my guy, Andre Roberson.
I am happy to see him recover, especially for the last time we really saw him on the courts. It was him getting memed to death in the 3-1 series they choked against the Warriors when he was just like, I think any of us could have shot free throws better. I won't say 3 points better, but I'm pretty sure I could have shot better than 35% from the free throw line.
Back to the question at hand. Truth, yeah, you guys should be very worried about, Joel Embiid. Anything that comes out on any player right now is an alarming thing, let alone someone with known health concerns like Joel Embiid. I'm sorry, name me one other player you heard that had to be taken out for any kind of measure on any team. Did anybody else have to go out?
Even Kawhi played both games.
Did anybody else have to be tended to? You played 13 minutes in 2 games.
Oh, wait, no, LeBron sat out. LeBron and AD sat out their second or third game.
Yeah, but that's LeBron.
LeBron
and AD sit down when they want to sit down.
Okay.
Not for precautionary.
I'm trying.
You're trying. You are.
I'm trying my best. I'm scrambling
really hard.
Straws right now. Sometimes you got to look at what's presented to you is what it is. There's nothing under it. Joel Embiid had to be pulled out because Joel Embiid still has some nagging injuries that 4 months didn't take care of. And what's the biggest thing that Sixers fans said was a benefit of this 4-month layoff? Joel Embiid gets time to rest. By this time, he's usually gassed and unhealthy. So hopefully this won't have to happen. And it reared its ugly head in the second game after 13 minutes. That's alarming. That's worrisome. That's all I'm saying.
Here's my ultimate spin zone for this. I'm going to spin it as that he's gained so much mass and his body's not used to carrying muscle instead of fat, and his calves are all messed up because of it. Boom.
All right, so we're going to stop right there. I'm not going to let you jump on him for that. I saw it coming. Not happening. We are now going to talk about the positives for the Philadelphia 76ers, or what some would call positives. So this is something I know you've been on this, JJ. I know you've been on this for quite a while. The Ben Simmons move to power forward. It's working so far for the Sixers.
No. He doesn't get to go first.
It seems to be working. Okay.
Oh, no, you don't get to go first.
Okay. Jeez.
Let the tape show. How many threes would Ben Simmons attempt at this NBA restart?
I said when it mattered.
Oh, it matters from minute one.
He pulled it in a scrimmage. Did the game count?
It's counted as a scrimmage.
Did the game count, Max? Is it going in the record? Nope.
It's going to the record as a scrimmage.
Nope. He pulled it in.
I believe the record as a scrimmage.
I believe you said that he wouldn't attempt a single three at this restart.
When it counts. I don't care what he does in the scrimmages. When it
counts.
All right,
fine. Then I get to review this, and you'll be double salty when in the first game he takes 2-3.
I do think he's going to pull it in the regular
season. He absolutely is. I gotta say, I know this is kind of off topic, but it's on topic at the same time. I could not have been more relieved and just honestly ecstatic about the report that he agreed to see a sports psychologist, especially because in a league like the NBA, where we talk about all the time, where guys become ultra stars, they become faces of the franchise at 18, 19, 20 years old, you're just not ready for that at that age. You're just not, no matter how good your AAU team was, no matter if you went to Duke or Kansas or, if you went somewhere else but you were the #1 recruit, it doesn't matter. If you were the NBA and you were expected to carry a franchise on a professional level, it's a whole different ball game. And I think being able to, maybe not admit it or at least accept the fact that, hey, maybe something with my wiring needs to change. It's not a matter of the physical.
Forms and mechanics, right.
It's a matter of something up here. And I think that, even though he's been in the league for a couple years, being willing to give into that at such a young age, it shows a level of maturity. It shows a commitment, right? We've been wanting to see this step for so long, and clearly he wasn't going to do it by himself. I think we can agree on that it just didn't seem likely to the point where, hell, even him taking 2 threes in that one game, I'm like, yes, that is an improvement. Because both of them, he didn't hesitate. They weren't those, shit, there's no one near me. Okay, hold on, let me think about my release.
Right.
No, the one that he made was at his knees when he caught it. And that
in the corner.
Knew he was shooting when he got the ball.
He knew he was shooting when he got the ball.
In the corner with somebody in his face.
Yep.
And here's what I will say as to why it's working and why this gets scary for the rest of the league. It's not so much as Ben Simmons being able to shoot all the time and pull. I didn't hear what he said. Shoot all the time and pull, recklessly and shoot threes. But to be able to command the perimeter of the floor is the broader picture of this whole thing, right? It's not just I want to see Ben Simmons shoot threes. It's I want to see him, command attention from 15 feet and beyond. And the more he pulls them willingly like that, the more they go in, the more they're close, the more people creep up. And if you got Ben Simmons in the corner on a swing and someone has to actually charge out to the corner and he goes around them, look how open your floor is now. Look how open the offense is. Look how much room there is for Ben Simmons to create. And I'll tell you what, if that starts happening on a regular basis, if they can count on that for 3-4 times a game, then it gets really scary. Then it gets really scary.
The entire league is messed up.
Then it gets very scary for the rest of the league.
One other thing I want to say is that even this small shift, the fact that him and Horford have been able to coexist on the floor together,
huge.
Even though Horford's still jacking threes and Simmons really hasn't been, but just the fact that it seems more fluid when the sparing minutes that they played together in those 2 games, it seemed a lot more fluid. I think that's another big thing because we're going to need Horford to be able to play with him and Embiid individually.
I still think job number 2, now that, look, we've done it. We've pulled Ben Simmons from point guard to power forward. It looks like it's working. Number 2 on the agenda is how to use that space to Tobias Harris's benefit.
Thank you.
He's been looking great.
He has been.
That is draw number 2, and from the same standpoint, it looks like it's working. It looks like with that added space, it's not, let's just see what we can do. Have an agenda with that added space. Have an agenda with the fact that you have more room to operate now that Ben Simmons is spacing the floor better, and have that, speak to the other weak points of your offense. Rule number 1, or area number 1, being Tobias Harris. So it looks like it's working so far. So going on.
So what I would say to that is, I need. There's anybody that was watching the scrimmage yesterday heard Zoo and Ala talk about how Tobias Harris stepped up into a leadership role, organizing the Zoom conferences, organizing this chemistry that we never had. What we need is, when the tough gets tough, Brett Brown's going to try and revert back to the comfortable style of basketball that he likes to play. I need Tobias Harris to say no. He is now taking on that leadership role. I need him to go, no, you're not doing that. I'm putting my foot down. We're letting this rock.
We're letting this ride. And I think something interesting that I've noticed is, I don't think the stepping up of Tobias Harris on the court and the stepping up of Tobias Harris off the court are unrelated. I think they're very coincidental. I think they're very correlated and related. He became a very big voice in the NBA for social injustice, the justice for Breonna Taylor, and George Floyd was the first player to take his immediate availability on the first day and only speak about justice for Breonna Taylor. And I think a lot of players in and out of the Sixers organization saw that and used Tobias Harris as a model and as a role model and someone to model after and look up to. And I think that translated on the court. I think some players saw just how respectable of a person Tobias Harris can be. And once you earn that respect off the court, that translates to on the court too. Once someone sees that you have a voice and you have a big role, they want to fall in line and use that. And I think that bravado and then that confidence he showed on kind of off the court and being a leader of this movement, it's kind of carrying into the confidence on the court, and that's a good thing to see.
And I want to add on to that, because I think it's not only Harris. I think it's kind of the whole team is maybe a little bit more confident. It feels weird to say, and I know publicity doesn't always translate to positive results in terms of on the floor, but the Sixers have kind of almost become like the darling of the bubble, right? Like,
yeah, they've been
Tobias Harris has been leading the front in terms of the media stuff and the social justice act, leading from the front in terms of that. Matisse Thybulle has become a wonder kid in terms of fans of all ages across all fan bases love this kid.
Shake is a newcomer. Everyone wants to see.
Exactly. Shake Milton's is probably the biggest X factor in the whole NBA restart, because all the other teams are probably going to stick to what they know. It's probably fair to say the Sixers have had the biggest lineup shakeup in terms of what they've had available. Like the Nets are missing their 4 of their best 6 players.
The Sixers and the Lakers are the 2.
Exactly right. But the Sixers are. It feels like the Sixers are making waves, and in a way, it's almost help them kind of embrace the bubble, right? Like everyone's kind of doing their thing. Like Simmons is getting his. Like in terms of the big names, it seems like only Embiid's the only one who isn't getting positive press day in and day out. Yeah. And it feels like that's helping them all play better. They looked more aggressive as a team. It felt like they were making shots. Like in the first game, like they started off missing everything like close, and then after that first 4-minute stretch, it just feels like they've been playing very fluid. It feels like they know what they doing. I don't know. I don't want to buy too much into it because it is scrimmages still.
No, but it's promising.
Exactly, it's promising. It feels like they did so much behind closed doors. It almost is like, you're telling me you guys did all this just over Zoom meetings and working individually? What the hell happened last training camp? Almost.
So we'll stick with that, and we're gonna pass the scrimmages, take the scrimmages out. We're gonna jump into the seeding games.
Okay.
And before, we had mentioned in a couple previous episodes how these games were less about seeding and more about getting it to work. Now, I've kind of switched my mindset, but I want to see how you guys are. And the question I have, truth or not, is the Sixers need to move up in order to compete for a championship. Truth or not, the Sixers need to move up in the Eastern Conference standings to compete for a championship.
Before this NBA restart, before the moves, it would have been the biggest truth in the world just to get a favorable matchup in the first round, and to not have to see teams like the Bucks or the Celtics till maybe the Eastern Conference Finals would have helped them. If the Sixers stay on this path, now, if all starters stay in and don't get pulled for the fourth, I don't think they blow a 25-point lead to the Thunder.
Dear God, I hope
I think that was just a product of a bench who literally has played maybe like a collective of a minute and a half together of those 5 or 6 or 7 players on the floor. Al Horford was the only big name player to stay on him and Matisse.
I mean, those guys have definitely gotten no run as a unit.
No run as a unit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like that's and the Thunder is a team who is deep. They use 9-10 guys often. So those players have gotten some run. So if the Sixers continue on this path, I'm gonna go no. I'm gonna go because there's no road test anymore.
Yeah.
So to me, the only reason why they needed to move up for the restart was so they didn't have to see these teams that game plan so well against them. Now, teams like the Bucks, the Heat, the Celtics, teams who normally handle the normal look Sixers, don't have enough time to game plan for this new look Sixers. They don't have time to game plan for a 3-point shooting Ben Simmons, a Shake Milton who's running the point now in the half court, a Tobias Harris who looks for his own shot and is aggressive when he's with the second unit. They don't play. They don't have time to adjust to this Sixers team. So I'm not going to say that, being a 6-7 seed is going to be a breeze. No, they don't have to worry about moving up. They still should try to game a seed or two and maybe play a 5th or 6th seed in the first round instead of playing a 3 or 4 seed. But is it pivotal for them to make a championship run? I don't think so anymore.
Interesting.
See, I want to say it is because I feel like that the seeds to be gained are there for the taking. I really do. Like the Pacers, it's every other day. It seems like Oladipo's in, he's out, and whatever he decides to do is his decision. I think he's going to end up playing, but like it seems like there's a lot of uncertainty going on there. I like the Heat. I think I guess I've just been underrating the Heat as a whole this season. I think we can agree on that.
I've always been scared of the Heat. Just saying.
No, you haven't. We've been on the opposite ends of that. Yeah. Like I still think the Sixers can easily beat out the Heat because the Heat have a much harder schedule.
I'd rather play the Celtics than the Bucks.
Yeah, I agree. I think as long as I don't play Toronto in the first round somehow, that's like the only playoff situation that I absolutely
I would rather play the Celtics than the Bucks than the Heat and then the Raptors.
Yeah, I agree. And if I had to, honestly, Toronto's the team I want to see the least. I do not want to see Toronto.
Dude, Nick Nurse
deserves. I'm not saying Toronto's a team that
I'd agree.
But you want to see Toronto the least?
Because think about it like this, Milwaukee, we know Milwaukee is super, super good, and there's
Well, I think the Sixers are the team that matches up best with
exactly. Al Horford was acquired for Milwaukee.
I think
there's no other reason.
For me, it literally comes all down to the mentality thing. Toronto owns us, dude. If Toronto is listed as the home team in the box score, it doesn't matter if it's an Orlando.
But so do the Celtics.
But not as badly this year. Not as badly this year. We got wins in Boston this year, and the Celtics
like pretty handily too.
Yeah, we've been slowly shedding the Boston monkey. The Toronto monkey is deeping its claws digging deeper into the Sixers' shoulder blades. We cannot beat. If Toronto is listed as the home team in the box score, I don't care if we're in Antarctica, Orlando, Toronto. I don't give a damn what continent, time zone, or planet we're on. The Sixers will lose that game if they are listed as a road team against the Toronto Raptors. It is a proven scientific fact.
Now,
you can check my math.
The NBA is pumping in crowd noise.
Right.
For the selected home
and during
teams.
the scrimmage, they use the Sixers feed. They use the Sixers music. They use the song.
The commentary guy tries to sound like the home team.
And I know they're not actually there. But there's something to be said for the psyche of this thing.
That's what I mean.
If the Sixers go out, they may not have to see people, but if they see an all-red court and they hear the Toronto PA announcer, and there's cheers for Toronto and there's boos for the Sixers, you may not have to look out in the stands to feel like you're on the road.
Did you see Ben Simmons ask for the boos when they're doing bad?
Yeah.
I think that's
I like that.
Well, because he's like, yo, make me feel at home.
I'm with that, though.
If I was in Philly and we were playing bad, guess what happened? By second quarter,
dude, if they're down 12 and a half, hell yeah, dude, let them have it. They deserve it. You want the authentic experience? There you go. Let them have it.
And you're getting better results from that, too,
Agreed.
by the way.
Agreed.
So, hey, that's truth or not? Wait, no. Was that a resounding truth?
That's a truth for me.
Okay.
That's a no for me.
That's a no, really.
I'm saying that. I'm saying it's not. That's not what needs to happen. Will it help? Absolutely. That's not what needs.
It's an optimistic take from you.
Needs to happen.
You're saying they can compete without moving up. From the 6th seed, they can go.
They could. They could. I could see it.
I just feel like
I didn't expect that.
Look, we just talked about it, how the Sixers might be going in with more added upside than any other team in the bubble right now.
Right.
That Shake Milton move, that moving Ben Simmons, plus him maybe getting a working jump shot, creates a higher ceiling for the Sixers, like than they started, than any other team could create a higher ceiling.
Hey, and Glenn Robinson III actually knows his role now.
Hey, now.
Yeah.
That was he's very happy about that.
How about that? I saw Alex Burks score the ball. I was like, hey, now.
He was our leading
different.
scorer against Orlando, I think.
Yeah, that's different.
Or against Oklahoma City.
Was it? Yeah, okay.
I think he was leading scorer.
I'm seeing Matisse.
Or at least leading scorer off the bench.
I'm seeing Matisse Thybulle go, drive down the lane, slam it home for 2. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
Young
who's
Buck.
this team?
Oh, and off the top of my head, Simmons was leading scorer. Simmons put up 14, 10, and 9 in like 20-some minutes.
Easy.
And Burks put up 13 to lead the bench scores.
Yep.
That's what I was
what?
thinking.
Toby had, like 13 and 12, I think?
I think it was like 11 and 10 or something
And
like
look,
that.
Still.
and that wasn't against the bet. That's against.
That's against a
that's
sound
Dude,
team.
the upstart
That's
OKC,
against-
they had a great year.
Yeah, that's against the 5th seed in the Western Conference. So that's against a very good team.
Very good team.
it's
Very good
not even
team.
a shadow against.
Fellas, that's truth or no. So, tap outs. Who's going to go first? I know you want to.
I can go first. Union update. They won in the round of 16 with a 1-0 victory over.
Who was it? New York?
No,
Did I see
New York beat. New York killed me. They beat Toronto the other night. Who did the Union beat?
Look it up yourself.
Yeah, look it up yourself. I'm not here to
Do some research into soccer.
Exactly. Anyway, their next game is a Thursday at 8:30, I believe. So I'll be there. We'll be duping out.
Be duping out.
I'm going to say this though. I am going to stick with Sixers for the tap out. So not the only thing, but the main thing that I was looking for in these two games, for the times that the starting unit was playing together, was the connection between Shake and Ben Simmons. Are they willing to distribute the ball with one another? Particularly Ben Simmons, right? This guy's a superstar. He's used to having the ball in his hands. I got to say, I'm very pleasantly surprised. He was very, very willing to whip the ball to Shake, even in transition opportunities. He did not seem like he was concerned with having the ball for himself. I think that, to me, was going to be the big question. Is Ben Simmons going to be, truly open to, not being the guy who has the ball all the time, especially in the situations where he typically dominates? Even the fact that he's willing to throw the first pass and, if it shakes out with him, no pun intended, even if it works out with him, catching the ball for a finish, thank you. Whatever happens, that's the thing you want to look for, because it doesn't matter if you have 2 point guards if they're just going to take turns isoing and never letting the other one touch the ball in terms of, the alpha beta thing, right? I don't think we're going to have that issue, Sixers fans. I really don't. I'm very, very optimistic. I think that the ball movement and the cohesion is only going to improve. It feels like somebody gave the Sixers new life. It literally feels like exactly like Sixers were at death's door and somebody smacked them and stabbed them with some morphine and said, "Get the hell up, we got a war to finish." And I'm beyond excited. I really am. It's so hard for me not to get ahead of myself because they are 2 scrimmages.
I was just about to say,
they're 2 scrimmages. I don't want it.
The evolution of Max Coolish throughout this
tempering
episode.
him?
He started so mild. He did so
right.
well. He started I'm not going to buy into it too much. I'm not going to get myself
all in.
And in one tap out, he went from 0 to 100.
Right.
Real quick.
I am unashamedly all in. I think it's going to work. I think we're not going to have the issues of 2 guys trying to do it all themselves, because if you're Shake Milton, it's easy to say, oh damn, I popped off for those last 6-7 games before quarantine, like I can do this, like I can be the man. And on Simmons' hand,
I think it's less easier with a dude named Ben Simmons,
exactly,
like with his attitude staring at you.
The thing about it from Simmons' point of view, 2-time All-Star, this guy who wasn't seeing minutes for months of the season just comes in and now he's the starting point guard on paper. That's not an easy pill to swallow. And I'm going to tie it in by saying this. I'm super, super proud of Ben Simmons for taking these steps mentally in terms of a professional, in terms of a basketball professional.
I like it.
I think those are going to be the steps that ultimately can turn the Sixers into title winners. Whether that's this year or not is yet to be seen. All I'm going to say is hold on to your seats. We got a crazy ride coming up.
All right. JJ.
My turn?
Yes, sir.
I'm going to get really serious for my tap out. It's been 136 days. Tomorrow will be 137 days since Breonna Taylor was unjustly murdered, sleeping in her own home in Kentucky. And her killers are still free, not arrested, not jailed, free living their lives. And I'm not sure what it's going to take. I'm not sure why it hasn't been done yet. And I think that, the powers that be, or whoever's responsible for this, may have thought that we would forget at some point. But we haven't. We won't ever forget. We won't let, things like the NBA or MLB or any sport coming back, the turn of the day, the turn of the week, the turn of the month, whatever it is. We will not forget, and I will still, all day, every day, demand justice for Breonna Taylor. Her killers need to be brought to justice. They need to be arrested. And I'm about to start getting pissed off again if it doesn't happen soon. So justice for Breonna Taylor, please.
I'm going to leave with that. I didn't really have a good tap out anyway, so I'm just going to echo your sentiments, James. That was very well said. I'll leave it with justice for Breonna Taylor, and we are not satisfied with anything less. Anything less is a slap in the face, in all honesty. So do better because you can. Thank you for watching, everybody. That is going to be our episode of Trust the Process Live. As always, we are brought to you by My New Philly, where something's always new and everything's always Philly.
Except for this jersey. Keenan Allen, you're not better than this man right
how
here.
How did we not talk about
Keenan
that?
Allen, you're not better than this man right here. Shut it.
Stephen A. boys, stay off the weed.
Stay off
My
the
man
weed.
said he is top 5. I appreciate that 7 minute.
Leave.